Hey guys, Professor Bell, Comic Book University. And yes, I'm sitting here in my, reach back here, my flash pajamas. That's right, they go from my head to my toe. They got a zipper in the middle. And two, don't lie. Don't act like you don't have one. Okay, so, there's a couple things to talk about today. I'm going to get into the HBO thing in a minute. Yeah, you've seen Game of Thrones on there. Game of Thrones declaring war, I said, on pirates. Yeah, we're gonna have some a little bit of fun with that one. Okay, so a couple of things that I found interesting today is what do you got there? The most anticipated show, according to Fandango. You remember when they first came out and everybody thought nobody with a name like that's gonna work. Good on you, Fandango. The most anticipated movie coming up, a comic book movie at the very least, period, is actually supposed to be the Infinity War. So that's pretty cool. Avengers Part 3. They're really looking forward to that. The number one most watched trailer ever in the history of trailers has been, and I'm talking through every single platform you can imagine. Yes, it's Infinity War. That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. So, and right after that, and this is what am I looking at here? Comic Book Resources is saying, and surprisingly, Black Panther is number two. Now, when they say surprisingly, here's what I come across. I realize immediately that what's up, everybody? I realize immediately that comic book resources are not actually comic book fans. Comic book resources has already become corporate in some ways, in so much as they are out of touch. They are out of touch with the rest of us. Look, I'm not living in an echo chamber here. When I say that, when I talk to people, when I wear my Black Panther T-shirt, I only have one. When I was out looking at the Black Panther figures, I just recently got the Namor up here, so I got him with Susan Storm. Yeah, that's right. Namor is somebody who'd actually treat her right. Screw you, Reed Richards. I'm still gonna get his figure when he comes out. But yeah, I'm sitting there looking at all the Black Panther figures, and I actually have people saying like, you excited to see the movie? I was like, oh hell yeah. Hell yeah, I'm amped to see that movie. That movie's going to blow people out of the water. You know what I'm saying? Like everything that they're showing with this thing, that movie, it's one of those movies. It has to be good. You know what I'm saying? It's not like Wonder Woman where there's already a captive audience there and whatnot. No, these are people going in here saying this has to be good because otherwise it will ruin the Marvel franchise if it's not. And I'm not joking when I say that. It will absolutely decimate. Plus, the Marvel franchise. Could it decimate? So, dodecimate. It could dodecimate it. Anyway, so yeah, all the hype that's behind it, all the rich, vibrant history behind it, and the entire cast and crew that's behind it. Guys, you got to remember something. And look, I am going to make this comparison. Anytime you talk to me about Black Panther and compare it to somebody, I'm going to compare it to Wonder Woman, okay? Because everybody's like, there's got to be a female movie out, and female superhero movie, and if it's not going to be Black Widow, it should absolutely be Wonder Woman. And then Wonder Woman came out, and we're like, yay! And Gail Simone, she kicked some booty on that. Excuse me, Patty Jenkins. Patty Jenkins kicked some booty on that. Sorry, I have my preferences. And yeah, she actually she wrecked house on there. But let's be realistic for just a second. Was this an all-female cast? No. Was this a mostly female cast? No, no. It actually shouldn't be. It actually shouldn't be. It is supposed to be about feminism and the idea of overcoming the idea of sexist beliefs. Especially, like, they could have done World War II. That would have been fine. But they wanted to make it older. They want to try and separate from Captain America and make it World War One instead. That's fine. I'm okay with it. I'm perfectly okay with that. Plus, it could open up a part two. You know what I'm saying? Part two is going to be in the Second World War. Sure, sure. Are we also going to do the Spanish-American War? Just mess around with time a little bit? So anyway, what the executives behind the movie, they were not, like all the people behind, trying to make the movie, all the people responsible for, for casting everything like that. There weren't females. You know what I'm saying? They were all, on average, much like our political systems, old white men. Old white men. Which they're going to say, let's just be realistic for a hot second. They're all going to say, you know what? This is what women want. They can't say this is what we want. They say this is what women want. Right there, that's a fail. That's a fail. All right, the movie was good. Black Panther, look at what Black Panther's done. All right, you look at the cast, you look at the crew, You look at the behind the scenes. You look at the executive producers. Okay, the executives are still the same. It's still going to be, old white men putting out the movie and whatnot. But they're pretty much leaving it in the hands of what do you call it? Just is it wrong? Yeah, whatever. Screw political correctness. Leaving it in charge of African Americans or Africans, just people of African descent. Which, yay, yay. There's always that little tension, like, if I say this, will it be considered controversial? I'm sick and tired of always hearing about controversial. Freaking screw your thought crimes, okay? So anyway, your Newspeak dictionary from 1984, George Orwell. This. So yeah, I am hyped for Black Panther, and the idea that a place that has the word comic book in it, comic book resources, is surprised. It's surprising that the number two most anticipated movie is no, it's not. No, actually, it's not. So all that aside, yeah, everything else that's out there. They also said that Aquaman, which is the only DC movie that is slated for 2018, is not even on the list of the top 10. And they do. I got to give credit where credit is due. They did recognize also zero promotional material has gone out for that. Like, I shouldn't say zero. A couple of things on Twitter pop up here and there, maybe three. So it's understood that Aquaman is not going to be a big thing right now. And it is my intent to try and make sure they get all fish people to be in charge of the Aquaman movie, because otherwise it's simply not fair, and I'm being silly. But no, like, in all seriousness, the movie in and of itself has to be, they have to take a more legitimate approach to it than they did with the Justice League movie. Like, you can't just hope that fans are going to say, is it when everybody says, the movie's okay, and then the super diehard fans who, if they gave you a steaming pile of poo and put a J and an L sticker on top of the flaming pile of poo, these super kind of fans, they're going to scream, no, the movie was great! The movie was great! It was at least a 7 out of 10! Well, I said it was 6 out of 10. So what's a big? No, it's at least a 7 out of 10. So yeah, okay. Super fans, take a Valium, relax, go seek some therapy for that. Honestly, and maybe it's what would help with not being so high strung? Go out and actually get laid. That might help. Okay, that being said, they actually need this film to be really good, because honestly, I do not see the film franchise doing very well. I'm going to tell you flat out. It's my personal opinion. Cyborg will be canceled if Aquaman doesn't do up to what they want to. Look, Justice League was profitable, but it underperformed a lot. And again, Warner Brothers actually decided to completely take over control. They don't have their own thing anymore. They never had their own studio, but they did have their own separate area. It might as well have been a studio. Now it's all reined in. It's all in with everybody else. Like Justice League, the DC universe has lost so much. They failed. Too much screwing up. They failed because Warner Brothers itself, they reined it in. They said, yeah, we're going to take a little bit more control over this right now. And Warner Brothers, like I've said so many times before, does not need the DC universe, the DC cinematic universe. If they decide, you know what? We got so many other things that are profitable. You know what I'm saying? For crying out loud, they're still doing the Fantastic Beasts, the Harry Potter. I meant to say Harry Potter, but they're doing the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them Part 2 thing. It's proven so much more profitable than the Justice League movies. If you don't think that Warner Brothers will completely pull that plug and cut the cord, they absolutely will. In a heartbeat, they will. In a heartbeat, they will. And you know who would be gunning for that to happen? The CW network. Because guess who was just pulled off? Like, we had Deathstroke, and then they pulled Deathstroke. They said, oh, no, we don't want to confuse fans. We're going to make a movie. And they're like, yeah, we're not going to make the movie. Go ahead, you can have Deathstroke again. So they put him back on. They're like, Deathstroke is back. Yeah! He's got a son. He's got all these crazy things going on. And then what happened? Oh, yeah, there's an end credit scene. Spoiler for a movie that happened 2 months ago. There's an end credit scene where Deathstroke appears. So guess what just happened this week? DC says, oh, yeah, CW? Yeah, no more Deathstroke. It's like, oh, come on. We just put it on. So, yeah. Yeah, you know who would be really happy if the DC cinematic universe failed? The CW. And you know what? it might be better off for it. Because, like what, on Green Arrow, they just name dropped Bruce Wayne. That's not going to go anywhere. That is going no place. Nowhere. All right? But if they drop all this other stuff and they just have, the whole, like Martin Scorsese doing a Batman film and just little random film like they did before, where it's like, okay, the expanded universe is gone. We're going to make a couple of Superman movies and see if that's a continued hit. Zack Snyder, go ahead. Have some fun with it. You know what I'm saying? And if your next film doesn't do what we expect it to do, you're out of here. That might be a good thing. And after that, yeah, you guys want to do these movies? Go ahead and do these movies. Joss Whedon, you want to do a Batgirl film? Your Batgirl film is back on. Let's go see how this Titans movie TV show comes out. You know what I'm saying? Speaking of that, let's segue over. Multiple sources reporting that the casting call went out for an episode 111 appearance for some kind of a character who is a cult leader. So right away they start screaming, Triton! Triton's coming! Yes, there's going to be Triton. Excuse me, Trigon, not Triton. Sorry. Inhuman versus Super Demogorg God equal to Dormammu. Yeah, there's a little bit of a difference. Anyway, so Trigon. Yeah, look, dude, shut up. Every single one of these article sites, I'm not smarter than them. I'm just not trying to make up news as we go along. You know what I'm saying? I'm actually trying to think of the things that I'm talking about before I talk about them, as opposed to just, we got to get an article out. You better put out an article. Why? I didn't put out a Nerdicy article last week. You know why? Because I couldn't think of a good way to put out the freaking article. I did the video. All the things I had to talk about, I advertised it, all that good stuff for my Marvel Face Rip game that I run on Nerdicy, 8 o'clock Mondays, New York and Toronto time, on the Nerdicy YouTube channel. But guess what? I tried to do the article for it, to actually write an article. I'm like, yeah, talking about this and actually writing about this particular subject, just not the same. It's not the same. I tried. I couldn't get a single word down. I couldn't jot a single word. I was like, you know what? It's not worth it. It's not worth it. My Nerdiker is the editor there, because if he's usually in the chat. Nope, it doesn't look like he is. So, yeah, Doug is not in the chat right now. The Nerditor, the editor-in-chief of Nerdicy. Sorry, dude. He knows I didn't do it. But what are you gonna do? But what do you call it? Anyway, yeah, if I don't have anything to talk about, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to just start making up things to talk about. And what are these guys doing? Oh, Trigon. Trigon is a foregone conclusion. Every single person knows that Trigon is going to be in this, okay? Two things. Trigon will be in this, and Deathstroke will be in it. Now, I know what you're sitting there saying. Oh, but if he can't be an Arrow, it's not the same. It's not the same. Trigon and Deathstroke will absolutely be in the Teen Titans TV show. Absolutely. It will definitely be in there. All right? There's not even a question about that. Jeff Johns was directly assigned to the project. They're putting a lot of money into this. They're actually trying to make the costumes look like, they're trying to make this look like a big budget production for a small screen. Yeah. They're going to find a way to put Deathstroke in it. And why are we even questioning Trigon? Where else would you put Trigon? Would Trigon make sense in a freaking, what do you call it, a Justice League movie? No, he absolutely would not. Trigon without Raven doesn't make sense. Clearly, Trigon is going to go in there. So, I don't know what... Oh, Lukaski called for... You know what? You want to have a conversation? This is what I did. I went and I threw together a couple quick things. You know who that casting call could be for? Okay, it could be for Brother Blood. It could be for Cobra. It could be for Deacon Blackfire. Okay, and just for the sake of conversation, off the top of my head, because I love the character so much, from over in the Flash, they could cross over from Flash. They could have David Hirsch. Yeah, they could have anybody they want in this stupid thing. Okay, that casting call for a charismatic Caucasian cult leader could be for anybody. Do you realize how many cult leaders there are in the DC universe? Easily a quarter of the villains are cult leaders. How many Batman villains can you think of that would be represented as a cult leader, for crying out loud? So no, just stop trying to make news. There's either news or there isn't. And if you're trying to find news, you really don't have your your nose to the grindstone, or your ear to the railroad tracks. What was that movie called? The Stephen King movie? It was a really good movie. The Stand? Not The Stand. That was a Stephen King movie too. Not Lost Boys. What the heck was that called? Stand By Me. Stand was in it. So anyway, oh, that was bright. Okay, so oh crap, Doug's there. I'm being yelled at. Okay, so let's get to the to here real quick before I start talking about Game of Thrones and my take on Game of Thrones. Hello, everybody. Literally everybody. Okay. Aaron Nordone. Hello. Your flash hoodie is sweet. I have a gray one, but the one you have is nice. No, the one I have is freaking awesome, Aaron. Get your facts straight, all right? This thing is awesome. I love this thing. I actually, this was, you know what? Here's the thing. This was actually the very first thing that I bought when I came to Canada. I'm not joking. I was overseas. I was a university professor over there. And I came over here to Canada. My wife is Canadian. I came to Canada, and the very first purchase I made was this. I'm walking through the store. It was actually a Walmart, and I'm not a huge fan of Walmart. But what do you call it? We were in Walmart. Wife, that's where she was doing shopping that day. I'm like, okay, cool, hey. And I'm walking around, and I see this. And I was like, are you kidding me? Will this fit me? Oh, yes. It just fits. So now I got to get the gloves. I actually have some red gloves, but I got to get the booties. I got to find some yellow boots that pull, like snow boots that pull up, like to mid to above calf. Yeah, and then just feathers. I just got to put little feathers on it, and I'm good. I'm good. I'm even good with getting like the Jay Garrett thing on top. Anyway, yeah, I love my Flash pajamas. These are my pajamas. I'm wearing my pajamas. I might be wearing this to the Nerdarchy game on Monday. You know what I'm saying? I may. Okay, so, Sean, did you read Moon Girl yet? Oh, for crying out loud, Sean. I love the hell out of you, man. But you know what? And not even but. That was the wrong word. But, no. I love you, and you are persistent. And one of the reasons why I love you is because you are so effing persistent. No, I'm not. And thank you for keeping me on the straight and narrow. I need to get on Moon Girl. But I'm trying to do other projects also. So I will get to it, and I'm going to treat it like a Spotlight on Story. I'm actually... Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to do it like Spotlight on Story. I don't know if I'm going to do it as a Spotlight on Story, or if I'm going to treat it like a Spotlight on Story and just have a couple of volumes where I'll just go over and do things like that. I remember, I think Benny still does stuff like that over on what the hell's the name? Comic Storian. I think that Comic Storian Benny still does stuff like that. I still see the stuff. And yeah, no, in fact, he does, because he just put out something. There was a very recent thing, and I saw new next to it. I always get the recommended list. Again, I don't watch any other comic book channels. I can't, because if I do, it's inevitably going to influence what I do. And I don't want to do stuff like that. So I'll see the recommendations, but I won't actually watch the stuff. So, I don't want to like do in their kind of format or anything like that. So anyway, like case in point, I did a Spotlight on Story not too long ago on Speeding Bullets, the Superman story. What if Elseworlds? What if Superman were actually discovered by Thomas and Martha Kent? Great story. I go and I put it up, and I go back and I look at it later. I see it on the sidebar. I put out Hawk and Dove Explained in a minute. That did a lot more successful than I expected it to. I didn't know there were that many Hawk and Dove fans out there. Or what it could be is that, they're going to be in the Teen Titans movie. So, like, who's Hawk and Dove? So, yeah, I don't look at who else has something out there. I'm doing my own thing, and that's it. That's all I can do. So, I saw that recommended for me was Speeding Bullets by, not TV Little House. What do they call themselves now? Crying out loud, Sal and Tiffany. Sal and Tiffany just got married on December 9th, I heard, which is actually congratulations to them. What the hell are they called? Comics Pop, whatever. It's like one word. Anyway, yeah, so like, I come to find out they did it too. Cool. Maybe they did it better than me. They've been doing it a lot longer than me. I don't know. But I did it. And I imagine it doesn't look anything like what they did. So, and that whole was Ethan and Ben, I think is the last guy, Ben. Anyway, Ben read one of my letters a long time ago, so I like Ben. They were choosing letters or questions to ask, and he specifically picked mine, which was actually pretty cool. It was about Daredevil and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So, What happened? Anyway, no, I didn't read Moon Girl yet. I am going to read Moon Girl. I'm going to read the heck out of Moon Girl. Um, and when I say I didn't read it yet, I actually read the first volume. But as far as actually, I read that first volume a long time ago, but I didn't actually do any videos for it yet. I'm going to. I will. I promise. Also, Sean asks, do you think next year we might finally see Connor Kent return? Well, we actually just did. We actually just did see him return. Well, we saw him at least in the most recent. What was it? Super Sons of Tomorrow. 3 out of 5. But what that was in the Teen Titans. What was that, issue number 37, 32, 37, something like that. Anyway, it was in there. So we actually saw Connor Kent. So yeah, he exists. He's not just name dropped anymore. There's an actual face to go with it. Um, Isaiah Quinn. I was never a big Connor Kent fan, but it will be interesting to see if he will return. Personally, I want a Swamp Thing book in the future. You know what? You got to do a Swamp Thing book at some point. Especially like Len Wein just died not too long ago, so I have a feeling that they will do a Swamp Thing book very soon. I'm positive it's in the works. P.A. Stewart, Happy New Year, everyone. Hey, you too, brother. Isaiah Quinn. I think people, since DC coming out with Titans, and since they name drop Bruce Wayne and Arrow, they will put out the Titans TV show, the same universe as the rest of the CW shows. See, it may be in line with the rest of the CW shows. They may be doing something else entirely with it and trying to connect it with the cinematic universe. Because remember, if they're not putting out that many things, and look, this is entirely speculation on my side, but by you saying that, it immediately makes me think that it would actually be brilliant of them if instead of simply saying, hey, listen, we're going to align this with the rest of the CW shows. The CW shows don't need any more of a push. Plus, there's already enough of a conglomeration there that they can't tell heads or tails anymore. Every year, they got to do that crossover and more TV shows combining with each other. And let's be realistic. There are very few people saying that the crossovers are getting better, that they actually don't look forward to the crossovers. You know, there are people who actually look forward to the musicals more than the crossovers at this point. And I can't blame them because it's hard to get so many people together and like, okay, we got to put this, and there's almost no build up to it. So I get it. It can get a little bit confusing. You know, oh, this is happening. We're doing this over here. It's one thing to do that with a comic book where you're planning things out on paper a long time in advance, but something like a TV show where you talk about writers, like you're actually dealing with a guild, the Writers Guild, the Writers Union. That's got to be a lot harder to deal with. That's got to be a whole lot harder to deal with. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if Jeff Johns came up with a typical genius Jeff Johns idea. Genius and Jeff Johns. You notice how they both start with J? Jeff and Genius. Anyway, excuse me, G. J sound. G. I hate the letter G. It's stupid. What do you call it? What do you got there? Sorry, I'm like hung up on the whole. I feel like I should explain why I hate the letter G. G and J. There's no need for both. We've got a J. It's called J. We don't need G. Should be for G. It should be G. But then that's talking about Indian butter. Okay, now that that's out of my head, I can think more about this. These guys doing this, I think that if Jeff Johns were gonna be attached to this as he is, I think it'd be brilliant to keep the cinematic universe going through the Teen Titans. That's what I think. To keep them always fresh in our mind. Every couple of seasons, we wind up seeing the Teen Titans, and they talk about and they interact with the cinematic universe. If Johns were planning that and he could get it to actually work, now we're golden. And the only thing that kind of takes me away from that thought is that Warner Brothers did, of all the people to take off of the DC Cinematic Universe, the DCEU, the Expanded Universe, they took Jeff Johns off of the Expanded Universe, which I think, really? Of all the people you could have taken off, you took off Jeff Johns? This goes to show, you know what I'm saying? DC is literally like, look, you will hit or you will sink. They're not playing around anymore. Like, look, we are going to make a profit off of these movies, or we are not going to waste our time with these movies anymore. You're taking up valuable cinema space from other movies that we know are going to make money. So, yeah, it's a shame that it had to get to that point. Angry Burp, Warner Brothers and Deathstroke off limits to Arrows. Yeah. You obviously said that before I did. Whoa, big jump. What's up with that? Sean, did you hear that Mark Waid might leave Captain America? Yeah, I actually heard that he might leave it after 700. I don't know why he's going to be doing this whole going into the past thing again, like, or is it the future? I think he's going into the past again. Whatever. Is another time traveling Captain? It's like Captain America is already time traveling. By the essence of Captain America being who he is, he's already time traveling. Why are we doing more time traveling things? I would actually like to see this Captain America run continue along the line that it's at. Make every issue barely connect with the next one. Just make them all a bunch of one shots. I just want to see Captain America, riding around on his motorcycle to different cities, righting wrongs, and then moving on. You know what I'm saying? That's really all that I want to see. That's all I want to see. I don't want to see any of this other stuff. Just for a while, that's what I want to see. With after the way that Secret Empire ended, that's all I really want to see. Isaiah! Comic Book University, since Titans will put in Deathstroke and Trigon in the show, when do you think they will case Terror for the show? They haven't actually put everybody out yet. They haven't actually released who all's going to be in the Titans yet. We know Beast Boy, we know Robin. Robin looks good. And we know Hawk and Dove. I did not make a Beast Boy Explained in a Minute video yet. That is actually a huge oversight. Crap. He makes a really quick appearance in one of my earlier Explained in a Minute videos, the Zatanna Explained in a Minute. But that being said, I haven't actually done a Beast Boy Explained in a Minute. And I am positive there are like just billions of people in this world who are so deprived, some of them are depraved, but most of them are deprived of the opportunity of having actually met Beast Boy. How do people not know the joy that is Gar? Like, just, disappointing. So you know what? I have to rectify that situation. We need some Garth. We need some Garth in our lives. Okay, so that being said, I think that it would actually make a whole lot of sense if Terra were actually in the first season of Teen Titans. That'd be my opinion. Instead of just infiltrating, maybe she was always in there, and then she kind of turned evil. So I think that I'm hoping at least as they are announcing the different characters who will be in the Teen Titans show, I think that they're going to suddenly say, and here's Terra. What? I'm looking forward to it. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Victor, anything happening up there, Professor? I need to come visit. You can come visit anytime you want, brother. But as far as anything happening up here, you know what? Meeting Jeff Johns would have been great, but even I missed that. So, yeah. I'm going to keep in touch. Well, obviously, I'm going to keep in touch with Gotham Central Comics and Collectibles right here in Mississauga. You know what? Let me do this more like McFoley would. Right here in Mississauga! Cheap Pop, WWE fan? Anyway. So... yeah, if something really big pops up, I'll try and do like some kind of a stream, and I'll hit you up on Twitter. Let's see. What the frick? Oh, Sean, do you think Old Man Logan and 616 Logan will combine into one Logan? That would be kind of silly. That'd be interesting. They just kind of phase into each other. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I hope that they don't necessarily kill Old Man Logan. I got to be honest, though. Old Man Logan has grown on me, and I never disliked him for a second. A lot of people started getting heat on Old Man Logan. I don't want to see Old Man Logan. Whoa, we all loved Old Man Logan in that first 10-issue run, way back in the day. Was that Mark Millar? We all loved that. I don't know anybody who was like, they interrupted a good storyline with this Old Man Logan crap. No, every single person I've ever heard of was like, oh my God, they should do more with this. Well, we got more. So what's the problem now? I honestly, I'm actually kind of okay with Wolverine staying dead for a bit longer. I didn't need him back. You know what I'm saying? I didn't need Hulk back. I'm okay with some of these characters staying gone for longer so that when they do return, it's actually a big deal. You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel about it. Superman being dead for only a year. I think the world should have actually felt, saying longer than just a lousy year, 12 issues. It should have really felt the impact of Superman being gone, of Captain America being gone. Look, Peter Parker in the Ultimate Universe died. That was a really big deal, It really affected all of the characters in the Ultimate Universe. People thought the Ultimate Universe was going to end, for crying out loud. And then Miles Morales came along. It's like, oh, this is new. This is kind of cool. Peter Parker hasn't returned yet. Well, actually, in the latest, what comic book was that? Crap, I reviewed it. I don't remember which comic book it was. Spider-Man 2, issue number 5 of 5. Everybody's screaming that, oh, the Earth 1610, the Ultimate Universe is back. That's not the 1610 universe, man. That's not the 1610 universe. We know what happened in the 1610 universe. It didn't come back. All right. The Earth 1610 universe could still be out there. It could, but it would probably be very similar to what's up already. So, like what had already happened, based on what had already happened there. I don't know. But either way, I don't think that's just my opinion. I don't think that's the Earth 1610 universe. Everything is way too different for that to be the same Ultimate Universe. Every time that we have a what if comic book, it's always based on what if such and such happened from the Earth 616 universe. Okay, what if there was a what if? Say instead of calling it a what if, we'll call it what about. What about if such and such happened in the 1610 universe? Now we've got a Divergent 1610 universe instead. That's the way I look at it. It's a Divergent 1610 universe. I could be wrong, but Bendis is leaving, and whatever he's going to say, Marvel's just going to change it around anyway. You know what I'm saying? So, let's see. Comic Book Uni. Why wouldn't you just say Comic Book University? It would brighten up. Anyway, I fell into a comics hole the other day and got Robotech, Batwoman, Doom Patrol, yeah, and some more, the Next Generation Mirror Universe and X-Men and something else too, but I forgot. The Robotech is pretty good. Actually, we talked about the Robotech already on the latest. I think it was issue number 5 of Robotech. Batwoman, nah, dude. I haven't seen what it is lately, but I dropped that after issue 3, which is actually the 3rd issue because they had technically in issue 0, it was Batwoman Rebirth and then Batwoman the comic. Really weird how they did that. Anyway, let's see. Doom Patrol. I actually saw you talk about Doom Patrol on Twitter. And then the Next Generation Mirror Universe, you can't go wrong with that. That what was that, 5 or 6 issues? Whatever it was freaking amazing, and they have to make more. I need to see a follow-up on that in the worst way. That needs to become a regular series. And getting the X-Men, I don't know which X-Men you got. There's a bunch of X-Men out right now, like 10 different X titles right now. But, and I'm not exaggerating. But, no, dude, that's awesome. You can't go wrong with X-Men. Especially X-Men Red is coming out, and that's being hyped big time. Not just by the industry professionals, meaning Marvel. It's also by the fans. People are screaming about that right now. Sean s.h.i.e.l.d. is one of them. Speaking of which, Jason Aaron might take over the Avengers book. Cool. Edward Brewer, hey, what's up? Isaiah, the Hulk is supposed to permanently come back alive in the Avengers Standoff book. Yep, in March. He might be a different Hulk because they said he is now the Immortal Hulk. I think they're just going to call the book the Immortal Hulk. I think that Amadeus Cho is going to stay on the Incredible Hulk book. And Bruce Banner is going to be the Immortal Hulk. Which, yeah. I guess that's actually kind of like their way of trying to caveat to the fans and say, hey, man, there's only one Hulk. Because, when you say the Immortal Hulk Hogan, you know what I'm saying? It's like Hulk can never die. He can never truly die. Hulkamania will always run wild, right? Likewise, everybody's always going to prefer Bruce Banner to Amadeus. Isaiah continues, they also making a World War II Hulk book. Yes, yeah, I know. With show in March, with Greg Peck coming out as with a Weapon H book in March. Nobody actually complained about it. I don't think anybody really noticed it, but I actually already dropped the Hulk book. It's in the middle of the World War, or what the heck is it called? For crying out loud, Planet Hulk, the Planet Hulk 2 storyline. Greg did the first Planet Hulk, and it was great. But now he's just redoing it. He's making more like Mad Max, and it's not that great. It's not that good. We're not winning. We're not winning with the Planet Hulk 2 storyline. We're not. Okay, we need to make it better. Big league. Okay, we need to make it better, big league. But all right, my impersonations are over now. Um, I don't think that the World War Hulk book is going to be any better, honestly. Like, what's it going to be? Like, is it supposed to be an actual crossover event? Is it supposed to be tie-ins with other books? I just don't think there's going to be. I don't think it's going to be that good. This one wasn't that good. There's not that much of a build-up. Again, major storyline for the Hulk, right? And I dropped it. Sorry. It's just not that good. Coming out with a Weapon H book in March. Yes, all of the Weapon X title was simply to build up the Weapon H project. Kids don't know how to sleep. Sean, want to do the segment now? I will. Doug, keep Laura Kinney. Yeah. Here's the thing. Change Laura Kinney. Change. Doug says that. I say change Laura Kinney. Kinney's. They're trying to make her like she's the freaking savior of people with claws. I don't think so. I don't think she is. I liked her when she came out. She was a great concept, all that good stuff, but she's not. I just don't like the way she's drawn. Edward Brewer, Darkseid is back. Enough said. Yeah, using a Stan Lee quote for a DC comic. How dare they? But no, I do like how they brought Darkseid back. Go and check out my Wonder Woman review. What issue was that? 37, I think it was. Whatever it was, go and check out that one because it wasn't really. I liked the book. I gave it a good grade, but there was a certain part of that comic book that I really came down hard on. I was not happy with a certain part of that book. Isaiah Quinn. They also gave Gabby from the all-new Wolverine book a superhero name. It's going to be Honey Badger. Yes, and I'm actually looking forward to see what they do with that. I want this to be a book that's kind of geared towards kids a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, have some kind of an adult. I don't want it to necessarily be a Squirrel Girl book, but we'll see. Because if it's a Squirrel Girl book, I'm not going to read it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not ever going to get into that. Sean, I saw what you did. No, I haven't read All New Wolverine yet. I've seen her mostly in other books. Like when she shows up in one of the X-Men titles, I'll read that. When she showed up in the Weapon X title, I read her there. I haven't actually been reading her book per se. So maybe her book is better. I think I remember 2 different occasions when you said it was actually really good. So I should probably take you up on that consideration. Hey, Comic Boom, you're here live. What's up, dude? I thought we were supposed to do something. We were supposed to talk about Iron Man. Ed Brisson on. Ed, here he is. Okay, so this is us talking about Iron Man. I thought we were actually supposed to do a simultaneous thing. Ed Brisson on Iron Man. What do you think? I'll tell you what. Ed Brisson, when he writes a character, him and Jeff Zub, when these two write characters, I almost feel like they invented the characters. You know what I'm saying? So I actually feel like it's really the heart of those characters. So if either of those two were to write any comic book, I'm going to read it. And I'm going to feel, I'm going to walk into the comic book thinking, okay, now as a fan who knows the hell out of the history of this comic book character, this guy is also going to know the history of this comic book character and is going to treat the character correctly. I like the way that Sabretooth is being treated over in the Iron Fist comic book, and I haven't liked a good Sabretooth character in an actual run in forever. I haven't really liked Sabretooth since like issue number 10 of the second volume of Wolverine. The one where he's in the red, I think he's got like the red blazer on. He's got the big piece of wood. He's about to bring it down on Logan's head. And back in like the Mutant Massacre and stuff like that. Yeah, that's how far back I'm going. And I feel the exact same way about Juggernaut, the exact same way about Venom. Those 3 characters have been nothing but spat on for the long, and Venom least of all the 3, but I feel like those 3 characters have just been crapped on. And then all of a sudden Ed Brisson comes along and boom, and I'm like, this is a Sabretooth I can get behind. I love the way that Sabretooth is being represented here. I love the way Iron Fist is being represented. Almost any comic book that this guy gets on, it's good. It's really good. That being said, like I said, I know Iron Man, and I feel that if he gets on an Iron Man book, he's going to really bring out those darker aspects of Iron Man, which, you know, Tony Stark very specifically, to which he's not really a good guy. Like I know, like, you fancy it, but like the way that I look at Iron Man, at Tony Stark, I'm just gonna say, like, so we're not confused with which Iron Man. I'm not talking about Doctor Doom. I'm not talking about Riri. I'm not talking about James Rhodes. I'm talking about Tony Stark. Tony Stark to me is a lot like Victor Von Doom. You know what I'm saying? They both think that they're good guys, but they're kind of not. And that's the thing. I'm always told about the way that other people are talking, and I have seen some of, like, the negative, the flash in the pants guys who, they only started a couple months ago, or like a half a year ago, and they've already got like literally 20 times the subs that I have and things like that. And I just don't think that they're very sustainable. These kinds of huge groups are just, they SJW, if I want my comic book channel do well, all I gotta do is type SJW somewhere in the title of every single one of my videos. All of a sudden, my stuff will just explode all over the place, But I'm not interested in that flash in the pants stuff. I'm interested in actual substance in what I'm doing in my channel. That being said, if somebody goes in, or if somebody like Ed Brisson goes and makes a Tony Stark book, much like these, so-called, they claim they like comic books, but they obviously don't like comic books. They're ripping up all the comic books that they read, for the love of God. How do you tell me that you love comic books? And why are you reading a title that you don't like? I didn't like Captain Marvel. They don't like Captain Marvel. You know the difference between me and them? They're still reading Captain Marvel because it's not sustainable. If I don't like a comic book, I stop reading the comic book. You know what I'm saying? I love to hate Tony Stark. I love the title. I love reading me some Iron Man. But make no mistake, Tony Stark, in my mind, is a villain trying to act like a good guy, exactly like the infamous Iron Man is. You know what I'm saying? Exactly like Victor Von Doom is. So Tony Stark, if he's written by like Zub or Brisson, he's going to be made, in my opinion, he's going to be made into an actual very unlikable person. You know what I'm saying? And then we're going to sit there and read this and be like, can we have another Civil War, like Civil War 3, where somebody actually kills him, like dead, cuts off his head and burns him, like treat him like a vampire? Like, oh my God, he's freaking evil. He's a genuinely evil guy. I feel one of the best ways to really get that across would be if you put Spider-Man, like Peter Parker Spider-Man, in one of those things and actually had him screw over Spider-Man again. He screwed over Spider-Man in that first Civil War, and people were just like, Iron Man is evil. and he deserves to be taken out of like they put him out of commission and everything. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't himself again until Siege, for crying out loud. So yeah, just he doesn't do very well in Civil War. He never seems to be on the right side per se. There was no right side in the Civil War 2, but in Civil War 1, Captain America, there was a clear right side. To quote Black Panther, if you want to be on the side of morality, look to see which side Captain America's on. Bing! So if they were to write one of those, I would absolutely freak over that. Okay, there's no way that Mark Waid is actually in my chat. Stop messing with me. But that's just too funny. So do you think Brisson could actually make you like Tony Stark? Here's the thing, Comic Boom. Actually, you know what? I think I already explained it. Yeah, I do like reading Tony Stark comic books, but I like reading it because I like hating Tony Stark. I like trying to see, what is this freaking way too smart for his own good, villain going to do? That's actually the reason why I brought up all these other channels who say things like that. Who say like, they'll say things like, oh, Riri Williams is just a villain. And once one of those channels do it, all the other ones, like they're all in a big, it's going to be rude to say whatever, they're all in some big circle jerk. You know what I'm saying? Taking care of each other. Nobody wants to touch themselves. They're all taking care of each other, and they're all saying the exact same thing. One of these knuckleheads turns around and says, oh yeah, man, Riri Williams is actually a villain. You know immediately. All the other channels that are of the like-minded, SJW, they're all going to say, Riri Williams is actually a villain. And you know what? Moon Girl's a villain too. And what's another ethnic character I could say is a villain too? Because they're villains also. A female or an ethnic villain, because they're also going to be villains too. Shut up. Have an original thought, you freaking psycho lick. Anyway, so like that's the way I look at it. When people are sitting here saying, oh, Riri Williams is obviously a psychopath, or excuse me, a sociopath, These people can barely spell sociopath. Sorry, I studied psychology. She doesn't match a single way to look at that term. You could break that word sociopath down in so many different ways. And I'm telling you right now, actually do the research. Not a single one of those definitions comes anywhere near the Riri Williams character. Not a single one. So all these people, oh, she's actually a psychopath. Watch my video so I could try and make you believe what I believe too. Nobody believes what you're saying unless they already believed it in the first place, and they're a freaking lemming saying, oh, look, there's a cliff. Everybody else is jumping off the cliff. And I know that's not actual the way it works, but no, like Tony Stark actually is that. So they're taking what Tony Stark has done, they're taking what infamous Iron Man has done, and they're turning around and applying that to to Riri, because they don't want the idea of Riri. And I'm sorry, with all the silly things that they say about Riri. Oh, Riri's this, Riri's that, Riri's that. Riri stole armor. No, she didn't. Dr. Doom stole armor. Dr. Doom stole armor. Riri made her own armor. Oh, well, she stole it from MIT. I was like, did you actually read the comic book? No, she didn't. She made it while she was working there. And listen, as somebody who worked for more than 8 years in the engineering business, I was an electrical engineer for more than 8 years, and then I went on to do marketing. I'm telling you right now, one of the worst crimes that huge corporations can put on lowly engineers just trying to be inventive is the whole intellectual property thing. So, oh, you were working in my facility and you came across this idea. Yeah, but I was at home in my garage, man. I was at home in my garage. I was making a crystal radio with my kid, and all of a sudden I had this idea for such and such, widget 646. You know what I'm saying? Okay, but you were employed by me, so there must have been some kind of an influence on there. And you know why they win? Because they have big, high-priced, expensive lawyers, and they can fire us. That's why. Intellectual property is disgusting. It's disgusting. And on top of that, at least Brian Michael Bendis did the right thing and said that MIT would not be pursuing charges against Riri for intellectual property and all that nonsense, because oh my God, that would just, then I would have hated MIT, in the comic books at least. You know what I'm saying? And I'm actually very fond of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. I never attended. I would have liked to. But anyway, I don't do engineering anymore. So, like the idea, like all the things they say about Riri. Oh, she's a sociopath who took over another country. Spider-Man just did that. He actually used his corporation to do that, as opposed to going over there and accidentally taking over the country. Like, she didn't intend to take over the country. Spider-Man, Peter Parker, had every single intention of overthrowing a proper ruled country, as opposed to here's in Latveria didn't even qualify for anarchy. Like, look up what anarchy is. It didn't even qualify for anarchy, and right away, oh no, she's a sociopath. Oh my God, please shut up. Please just shut up with all that stuff. People hating on characters for absolutely no reason. If you can't come up with a good excuse as to why you don't like a character, everybody else is going to see right through your argument, and they're going to start trying to figure out other reasons why you don't like such and such a character. And all of these SJW, every single one of those sites, I'm going to tell you exactly the reason, exactly what the rest of us, the greater population of the world, thinks. They're all racists, misogynistic pieces of dog shit. I mean, I don't know what else to quote for that. They're all retarded. Literally, a pair of hands. I'm going to do such and such and such. You want to see a pair of hands? You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. People hiding behind their freaking military background. I used to be in the military. Unfortunately, most people, I was a conservative when I was in the military, and most conservatives actually joined the military. And these people hiding behind their military record. You know what I'm saying? I actually saw on Twitter before the guy got booted. Somebody, I forget. Oh, Dan Slott. Dan Slott just insulted a Marine on deployment during Thanksgiving. I don't care if you're a Marine. I don't care if you're on deployment. I don't care if it's Thanksgiving. You say something stupid, you get called out for it. You don't get to hide behind your service record. I don't hide behind mine. Nobody gets to hide behind their service record, okay? If a freaking Marine goes out and knocks over a bank in the States or overseas or whatever, he deserves, or she deserves to do the time for the crime. All right? And saying something stupid, getting called out for it, all that stuff. Nobody is above the law. I don't care if you served, and this is somebody who has served. I don't care if you're somebody who served. I don't care if you're serving right now. I don't care. You don't get to hide behind stuff like that. So every single argument that I've ever seen from all of these little pairs of hands with their squeaky little voices, how the hell, like, this is when you're actually in the army, when you're actually in the military, you hear this term. It's called New Army. When I was in the military, I had a drill sergeant punch me in my gut. All right, wasn't supposed to. It was actually that part where they're not allowed to touch you anymore. Who's gonna tell? Who's gonna tell? I think it was like 2 weeks later. Time blends in big time and this was when I was in basic training. When you're in basic training, it's only supposed to be that 8 weeks, and then you go on to your MOS school, your infantry school, or you go on to whatever other school you're going to go to. I did my infantry school, and I did a truck driving school. The truck driving school was experimental, so didn't really do anything for anything. But what do you call it? I did both of those two AITs, the Advanced Individual Trainings. So my MOSs are 88 Mike and 11 Bravo. What do you call it? I got punched. I got hit over the head with a clipboard, and I swear the guy wanted to hit me a second time. He was looking to try and break the clipboard over top of my head. You know what I'm saying? And just whatever, man. Whatever. Like, shouldn't have happened. But I think it was like maybe 2 weeks or so, later, the captain comes up and brings us all together. Yeah, if your drill sergeants ever do something that's, like insulting to you or whatever, then, you make sure you let us know and blah, 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 blah. Do you honestly think that anybody's going to come up and tell you something? Do you think that anybody is going to walk up and tell you? Because you're going to go and do what? What are you going to do? Whatever you're going to do, you're going to leave, and we're going to be stuck with these people. They sleep away from us, but like in the same freaking, area as us. They sleep on the same field as us. We're not saying jack. We're going to deal with it. We're going to do our time. We're going to move on. It's kind of like a prison, except I hear that in prison they get more rights. I'm not sure. But oh my God, are you kidding me? Regardless, look, I'm getting way too into some of this other stuff because stuff like that is just annoying to me. Anyway, you hear the term New Army, where they said you're not allowed to call it a mess hall anymore. You have to call it a dining facility. What the hell is that? Oh, well, we hired civilian contractors. Why are we hiring civilian contractors in the first place to do stuff like this? I'll tell you why. It's profit, war profiteering. That's all it is. Yes, people who make food for the military are war profiteering. That's what it is. We were able to handle that stuff on our own for the longest time. Peeling potatoes. What happened to peeling potatoes? All right? Look, freaking, we actually have people, it's their MOS. It's actually their training to be cooks. All right? And to get meals out quick and nutritious and efficiently and get them out to us, supply line and all that stuff. So what do we need outside contractors, civilian contractors coming for? I don't want civilians involved in my military. So because then all of a sudden these little, wimps come in and, oh, hey man, freaking, they're calling it a mess hall. We're not messy. We're very clean. We think that they should be called dining facilities. And since they're paying the bills, why not? Just look, I want to call it a freaking slop house. All right? If I want to call it a slop house, I get to call it a slop house. I didn't get to enjoy that stuff when I was in basic anyway. You know how it worked in basic? 3 meals a day. You know how that worked? We go in, the drill sergeant goes in last, and when the drill sergeant gets up to leave, we are always paying it. We're eating our food with our mouths, but our eyes are on the drill sergeant. You're like aiming. You're like guesstimating where to put your utensils to shovel the food in your mouth as quickly as possible. ASAFP, we called it. You can figure out that acronym. Initialization, not an acronym. But just, shoveling food in your mouth. As soon as that drill sergeant gets up and walks out, when he's finished with his meal, you are finished with your meal. And you get up and you line up and you are freaking in formation long before he gets out of there. Long before. Or you drop. You do push-ups. Half right face, front leaning rest position, push up the earth, baby. Keep pushing until I get tired. You know what I'm saying? That's what they say. So hearing the, and you know what the best is? When the drill sergeant isn't hungry. because then he walks through the line and immediately starts walking out. So like if you happen to be the last or one of the last people in line to get your chow, you're literally like you just got your food, you look over, there's drill sergeant walking towards the door, you don't even have time to curse. You're just hand in your mouth, shovel as much as you can in your mouth, throw that food in the freaking garbage disposal, and you don't run. Don't you run in that dining facility. Don't you run in that mess hall, and you freaking move. You speed walk your butt off, your camouflage butt off to get out there in front of him. What do you call it? Until you can so you can get in line, because you do not want to run in that line afterwards. You do not want to run in that line. Like, this is the kind of stuff that we deal with. We don't deal with it like. This is why I say I don't care what kind of insults you've got. You can't hurt me. You can't hurt a military. You can't hurt a soldier's feelings. You can't hurt a soldier's feelings. You've never had 4, 5, 6 drill sergeants gather around you, calling you a homosexual in front of everybody, in front of civilians, in front of women, in front of whomever, and just ban anybody. Even if as long as you've graduated from basic training, I don't think anybody is capable of hurting your feelings. I am of the opinion right now, until I see proof otherwise, that it is impossible to hurt the feelings of a soldier, an actual soldier. I don't care if you went, I don't know about Air Force training. I know enough about Navy training, you know what I'm saying? And I know plenty about Marine training, but I know about Army training. And no, you can't hurt our feelings. So hearing somebody, hiding behind something like, oh man, he just insulted a soldier. No, he called him out for being a jackass. That's what he did. And a jackass is as a jackass does. If it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, guess what? It's probably laying eggs because it's a freaking duck. And I'm probably throwing bread at you on the side of a pond someplace because it amuses me. So, yeah. These people who do these kinds of things are annoying. I'm not interested in watching or soliciting those videos. When they say the things that they say, and none of it, I think, like, the ability to think a thought all the way through and to see that no, absolutely not, nothing that you're saying makes sense. Everything that you're saying is a lie. You're attributing things to a person that no. You're assigning medical terms to someone that no. And this is just a comic book. It's just a comic book, and yet you're still reading it. I can't help but to think you are clearly a racist. You are a racist, you are a sexist, you are a pig. And if I'm wrong, give me an actual feasible excuse why you dislike such and such and such. An actual feasible excuse. The thing is, I think that you've had enough time to do it. So these kinds of people, screw them. Screw them. Okay, enough. Professor Bill's woke. Nah. No, Professor Bill just got a mad on. Let me see what we got here. Don't forget the so-called anti-white agenda. I don't know what the anti-white agenda is. Edward Brewer with the epic rant. Comic Boom. You do like it when I rant. You try to get me to rant, damn it. I can make fun of myself. I have no problem with that. Put Mark Waid and your subs will roll in. I guess. I like Mark Waid though. There aren't enough gay minority villains. Okay, you know what? Gay minority villains, yes, I'll agree with you on that. I don't think they're necessarily that's the thing. I don't need to see gay people in my comic books. You want to put gay people in the comic books, that's cool. I do kind of feel like somehow too many people are actually gay in the comic books. I just did Moonstar, Danny Moonstar, Mirage, Psych, whatever you want to call her, explained in a minute. I forgot that they made her a lesbian at one point in the comic books. I'm like, her too? She was like my dream girl, because I'm like part Native American, like a little tiny part. I think I'm like a 16th, you know what I'm saying, a Native American. Actually, I know I'm more than that, but whatever. I think I'm like 20% if I'm doing the math correctly. But what do you call it? Like, no, man, no, don't make her. Oh, man, that means that if I ever get transported to the comic book world, I don't stand a chance. So you got to bring some silly into it. Saying, hey, what's up, saying? I like Riri. Hey, make your next video. Why The Last Jedi is SJW. Actually, the previous podcast I did, I kind of talked about that a little bit. You know what? In between that and this one, Mark Hamill actually said something that was kind of dumb. I love Mark Hamill, the Joker, the Trickster. Luke Skywalker, all the different roles that he's done. Amazing voice actor. Amazing voice actor. Hopefully this guy never goes broke because he's way too talented for something like that. This cat, he goes and he says, you know what? Like Jedis don't hide from the world and things like he wouldn't go and hide in in his shame and blah, blah, blah. Sorry, have you ever heard of this movie called A New Hope? It was where we first introduced Luke Skywalker, and also this guy called Old Ben, the Hermit Jedi. Sorry, what? Did old Ben, who used to be a general in the military, and I'm not even talking about episode 3 or any of the prequels. Just look at the first Star Wars movie, episode 4, eventually, called The New Hope, eventually called episode 4. Look at that movie. Oh, I fought in the Clone Wars with your father. Yes, but then this guy, Darth Vader, came along and he kicked all of our butts and blah, blah, blah. You don't even have to look at episode 5 or 6. You don't have to look at anything but episode 1 alone. He ran and he hid because he lost. He's sulking on a desert planet someplace, watching over the future, all right, of the Jedi. Like, that's his excuse. But I mean, he didn't go out and fight any more wars or anything like that. And then don't even get me started on Yoda in the following movie. Like, he couldn't have been more remote. Like, he didn't go and watch over anybody. So Mark Hamill saying Jedi wouldn't hide, they were trying to do something. I'm sorry. I know that he starred in the movies, but I wonder, did he actually ever watch the movies? Because that Jedi absolutely, that seems to be the modus operandi of the greatest of Jedis. Go and run and hide. I'm talking in the EU. I'm talking about in the comic books. You name it. Jedi run and hide when the going gets tough. You know what I'm saying? So, sorry, Mark. Fail on the epic scale on that regard. No, Jedi absolutely do go and hide. So, I had zero problems with him being a hermit recluse off on that faraway desert planet, that island on that deserted planet called Ireland. That I had no problem with him hiding there. I was like, yeah, this makes sense. They're giving the Ben Kenobi and Dagobah, Yoda treatment, except he's got better taste in scenery. Rather than the desert, rather than the swamp, he wanted a nice fertile island with plenty of fishing. Holy crap! I'm thinking about becoming a retired recluse Jedi myself, and I can't even. Oh, I qualify. So anyway, I had no problem with that movie. Blue. Everybody's making fun of my rant. I have no problem with that. I'm not insulted. Would you not, Comic Boom, would you not admit that Riri is similar to Rey in The Last Jedi? Too perfect and not actually earned of her higher status of Mary Sue. See, that is a conservative, like, that's one of those things where I spot things like that and I hear people say, Mary Sue, listen. Okay, Mary Sue, Snowflake, Libtard. What are some of the other ones that conservatives say? They've got names for like everything. They've got a freaking name for cuck. They love cucks. They really got to. You ever have a situation where somebody's like like back in the playground. Oh, you do this and you do that. And you find out that person actually does it, or you just look at the. Mind you, I'm not a Democrat. F Democrats. F Republicans. F everybody. F the world. All right. When you actually see like these Republicans, they're all talking about there's just some girl who was caught. It was yesterday I saw it on the news. She's all against gambling, and then it turns out that's all she does is gamble. That's all she does is gamble. That's her life, is gambling. She's got a little side business where she sells supplementary insurance to poor people, and she spends her money gambling and entering sweepstakes. That's all she does. But she's against gambling. Abortion rights people who go out and they're like oh, I'm anti-abortion, I'm pro-life. People who these women will actually go to the same place, the same clinic where they go to have abortion, where they protest the abortions there. They'll go there, get an abortion, come right out and immediately join the picket line, like days later after they've recovered. Like, are you freaking kidding me? Oh yeah, but I needed the abortion. What you need is something entirely different, and it involves a little bit of violence. That's all I'm suggesting. Professor Bill advocates violence towards women. Sure, if it's another woman doing it. How about that? Oh, I totally missed the snap. I went the wrong one. See, I'm not good at that. I know my limitations. But so and then of course, like you got one of the biggest hypocrites in the world, but he knows he's a hypocrite, is Ted Cruz. You know what I'm saying? He knows he's a hypocrite. This guy's, oh yeah, people in the porn, it's ridiculous, and these porn sites need to be shut down, and blah blah blah. Turns out he likes Pornhub. Look, Ted, I like Pornhub too, man. we could bond over that. But no, instead, no, it's still bad. I had a transgression. No, you're a jackass. All right, let's just call a spade a spade. You're a jackass. So Republicans, specifically conservatives, and I grew up in a very conservative household, in an extremely conservative household. AIDS was sent down by God to kill gay people. I was taught that when I was a kid. I was raised with that idea. You know what I'm saying? So like all sorts of heavily conservative ideas like that. I was raised with those kinds of ideas. You know what I'm saying? What do you call it? I know that like conservatives have all the names for people, and they love to call people cucks, which makes me wonder, what exactly are you into? You think about what cuckolding is. What exactly are you into now? So when they've got all these names for people, saying like, look, whenever someone knows that they've lost an argument, like they've got no chance of winning this argument, okay? I don't care who it is. I don't care what denomination, what religion, what ethnicity, what gender. I don't care. When someone doesn't let you talk, or they regress the conversation to the point where there is no longer a conversation, it's just this person repeating themselves over and over and over and over and over, redundancy again, or they've reduced themselves to spitting insults as opposed to actually having an intelligent debate. Not even like subtle insults, just actually name calling. You've already admitted to the general intelligent, like people with a 3-digit or higher IQ, that you've already conceded the conversation. You've already said that the other person is right, you're wrong, and you're just trying to get some little jabs in. You know what I'm saying? You try to get some jabs in. That's all you're trying to do. So unfortunately, I'm going to, people like to, conservatives like to make fun of the term trigger. Mary Sue is a trigger word. It triggers someone to realize exactly what the person is talking about. So I get it. You're using the word because to some of those comic book channels, that means something to them. Unfortunately, in those, and not just comic book channels, in those circles, period, and I told you what I think about those circles, what they're doing in those circles, is those circles, they're implicating that, what do you call it? They're telling you exactly who they are. You know what I'm saying? There's no debauchery, there's no subtlety, there's no delusion. They're delusional, but there's no illusion to what they're trying to do. They're letting you know, hand in fist, that yes, they are absolutely conservatives. They do not have a good, strong foothold in a conversation or anything like that. That being said, do I think that Ray, like to actually just look at the question itself and not avoid a question, do I think that Ray and Riri are too perfect? Absolutely not. I simply don't look at these characters and see perfection at all. In fact, what I see are stupid little kids. I have a 15-year-old girl, all right? I have a 13-year-old girl also. And I'm not going to sit here and say they're stupid. Let's just be realistic for a second. They do some stupid things once in a while, right? But so do boys. So do boys. You know what I'm saying? Girls, boys, kids. Kids do stupid things. Kids do stupid things. Could we look back on some of the stupid stunts that Peter Parker did when Spider-Man first started out? I'm sorry. Let's be realistic. The guy was cocky as all hell. You knew he had a horrible life, back to begin with. Riri's got a far worse life. She's got a far worse life. She's got to deal with the demons of having seen her stepfather and her best friend shot right in front of her. You don't think that's causing some demons in her? Ray was abandoned by her parents, and then come to find out in this movie, they were nobody. Literally, all this buildup and whatnot, they were nobody. They sold you for a gambling debt. They're never coming back for you. Like, holy crap, you don't think that affects people? It's the idea of, the idea, Riri was I remember somebody saying, this was the last video I actually saw, and I was like, okay, you're fishing in an area where there are just no fish. You're fishing on a flat earth with no water, all right? Fishing in space, for crying out loud. Riri is a sociopath because she was staring at her teacher and trying to be oppressed. Yeah, she was a little kid, and she'd read from her heroes that people like Rosa Parks, people like Malcolm Luther King, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. and Harriet Tubman. All right, people like Frederick Douglass, people like Booker T. Washington. All these incredible role models in our history, and they're her role models. People who she loves, people who she looks for, and she says, you know what? These people are made great because of this. She was a kid. What was she? 5, 6, 8, 10, something like that. She was a kid, for crying out loud. And she made a very rational, logical, because you know what? Like, she's a genius. And understand what high IQ is: intellectual quotient. All right. IQ, having a high IQ, the only thing it means is you are capable of putting patterns together and recognizing patterns in things faster and better than anybody else. All right. Somebody with a low IQ doesn't necessarily mean that they're unintelligent. It does not mean at all that they're not educated. It simply means they have a harder time putting patterns together. So things like math, like I do math pretty fast, you know what I'm saying? Because I can recognize patterns really quick. But I'm not a mathematician. And somebody with a lower IQ who actually went and studied math, they'll know equations and things like that better than me in ways that I couldn't possibly, like, I might not even understand what they're talking about until they really dumb it down for me. You know what I'm saying? But meanwhile, I can probably do binary equations faster than them. Just because the patterns make sense to me. You know, okay, done. Binary, close, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. See, I try to do it with my finger. I haven't done it forever. Actually, I always do it on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, like that. That's how I used to always do it, starting with the thumb. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, I could do that really quick. I can make the pattern really quick. It doesn't mean that somebody's more intelligent than someone necessarily. So when she's sitting there putting pattern recognition together, she's seeing all these great heroes who she looks up to, who she idolizes. They've always had some great, bar in front of them. Someone has always put some bar just out of reach for these people, and they've had to overcome these barriers. It only makes logical sense that she's going to say, you know what I need? I need someone to put a bar in front of me. Teacher, I would like you to be that person who says something that I have to try and overcome. And then her just kind of sitting there, obstinate. I'm sorry, have you never, yeah, I've got a little sister who, when she's 3 years younger than me, and I remember that she used to do this really annoying thing. We'd be walking, we'd be doing whatever, and when she doesn't get her way, she would literally sit down, crisscross applesauce, arms crossed, you know what I'm saying, and just sit there and pout. No matter where we were, no matter what we were doing. This one time she did it in the middle of the freaking street. It wasn't like a highway, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't a major road, it was actually a side street, but it's like you literally stopped in the middle of the street. And it was just me and her, it was just she and I. So I literally looked at it, I was like, you're going to get hit by a car. And I just want you to know, if you survive, you will look up and see me laughing at you, okay? So sit there if you want. That's when she realized that's not going to work on me. That's when I realized I can't let it work on me. You know what I'm saying? What am I going to do? Go over there and pick her up and try and pull her out of the freaking street and whatnot, and she's going to start screaming? No! She's just a freaking idiot! Because that's what little girls do. They pout. So she was pouting, and she was hoping, like, sorry. I look at Riri, and I look at life, and I was like, yeah, this makes sense. Brian Michael Bendis must have kids. I don't know about his life. I think he's got kids. You know what I'm saying? Because he acts like he's got kids. So... Anyway, Mark Wade, I'd pee in the drill sergeant's white privilege coffee. Wow. I actually know somebody who spit in somebody's coffee, in a teacher's coffee one time. Segment? Yeah, it's coming, Sean. Comic Boom. Or to put it this way, what flaws would you describe Riri as having? Ha! Just did that. What is her hero's journey? That is genius. That's a genius freaking question. Okay. This just became the Comic Boom segment. And by the way, guys, go and check out Comic Boom. He's got a YouTube channel. Very active on Twitter. So, what do we got here? What is her hero's journey? That's, I never actually stopped to think about what is her hero's journey. Her hero's journey is that she had tragedy happen in her life. Raised by, typical girl, but she was extremely smart. And at the same time, she was warned off. Not her. Her parents were warned off about her. I've seen kids. They could go either way when they're this intelligent. They could become really smart, or they could become, really smart and good, or really smart and criminal masterminds like Lex Luthor. You know what I'm saying? So it's like she could be Reed Richards, she could be Doctor Doom. Which way depends on you. And I would recommend that every single day you say to her, the world is good, or something to that. I think that's, that was like, what, issue 4? I think they did that in. I don't remember. But anyway, yeah. So like her hero's journey was that she was warned off and that people were afraid of how brilliant they were, but they still loved her. They still, had to love her and things like that. Had all this tragedy happen to her. Just like, I look at it that way. She's had a lot of crap happen to her and she's had to overcome. In many ways, I guess that when you grow up and stuff like that, what I'm saying? When you grow up in poverty, you don't know what poverty is, even though you're in poverty. You know what I'm saying? It's like you can't see the forest for the trees. You know what I'm saying? You grow up in poverty, you're afraid of becoming poor. But poor is a matter of perspective. You know what I'm saying? Somebody like, let's say, Donald Trump, him turning around and having to live in the White House for him is like, oh my God, it's, it doesn't have a golden toilet like in my, my Trump Towers condominium, which is actually several condominiums, super suites. You should check it out. I've got a video right here on hand. I'm sure he does. But like, meanwhile, the rest of us would be like, holy crap, living in the White House, that's freaking gnarly. I would love to spend the night in the White House. That'd be cool. But to somebody like him, who's used to a much better lifestyle than that, yeah, no, he considers that a step down. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's pauper stuff. That's government housing. I want you to think about that. Trump right now is living in government housing. You don't think that bothers him? It's all a matter of perspective, my man. So when you have Riri, who's growing up in this horrible, squalid conditions and things like that, and she's just wondering, how much worse could it get? You know what I'm saying? Like, just it could get worse. And there are people who have it way worse than her, and people who have it way worse than them. But the question is, can she see the forest for the trees? So no, apparently she couldn't. She instead goes and says to the teacher, I want to be great. And I need to have a huge obstacle in my way. Rather than just my environment, I need to have one person to actually, put over, over the top and whatnot, to try and do something they said that I can't do. So when when the teacher says, you'll never be Tony Stark, she doesn't look at her and go, I'm going to kill you. No, she's like, I'm going to prove you wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought that was funny. I thought that was cool. I enjoyed that. I like the idea that she was trying to take the initiative to be better, as opposed to the typical kid who's just like, oh my God, I hate school. Oh, this is so stupid. I'm not learning it. You're never going to learn anything because you don't shut up. You know what I'm saying? So her hero's journey, I don't know. Tony Stark would probably have to be that old man who found her and moved her on. You know what I'm saying? To do whatever, try to show Thor off. That was cool. And what happened? He died because the old man has to die. And then she has to go out. So she went to MIT. She got her armor. You know what I'm saying? She made her armor. That's the thing. Instead of going out and finding the one ring or going out and finding, being given by the old person the lightsaber and all this stuff, she went out and she made her own armor. But then what happened? Even though her old man, died, the old legendary hero, Tony Stark, I guess that qualifies, he still gifted her not only armor, and said, update it as you can, but he also said, hey man, check it out. Here's me in AI form. I'm going to continue being your mentor. She has got, like now that I'm actually thinking about it, she's got an amazing hero's journey. Joseph Campbell would be pleased, I feel, with this hero's journey. I'm cool with it. Comic watching. What's up, brother? Coming in late this week, found Demon Bear. Hey. Nice, you found it in your local comic book store yesterday. Awesome. Didn't grab. And then woke up to your video this morning. Now I keep thinking about it. Take that. It was a sign. I don't even believe in omens, man. But if I were going to believe in an omen, that would be it. Thoughts on this means Thanos won. I actually did a review for Thanos won. So boom, that's my thoughts on it. Go check out the video. Know that Karma, not Moonstar. Yeah, Karma and Moonstar, different people. Pornhub rules. Tell us what you really think. Loving this honesty. Preach. Also, you aren't going to have time for Game of Thrones. No, I'll have time. You know what? Let me just throw in the Marvel has too many geniuses. Marvel does have too many geniuses. I agree with you, King of Comics. Raven, there's a math professor at Melbourne with an IQ of 65? Geez, 70 and below is mentally retarded. That sucks. Well, if he could do it though, okay. I hope that's not just I ran out of people to hire. Comics watching, three things. Disequilibrium. What? Disequilibrium. There we go. Is how the mind's potential actually grows. It's essential to new learning. Comic watching, you and me need to talk a little bit more. I don't ever remember hearing the term disequilibrium. I can't even say it again. Disequilibrium. Once you screw it up, like your mouth is just going to tell you "f you" every single time. Equilibrium, disequilibrium. No, nope. Sorry, I've never said that word before. I have never uttered that word out of my mouth before. That's going to take a couple minutes. You know what? Let me write that bit down. Dis. I can't even spell it. Oh my god. Yeah. I don't even care. You guys can just wait. I'm gonna actually look that up and actually check that out. That's actually really cool. I like that because as a former professor, yes, I absolutely of English and engineering terminology, I would absolutely love to research that more. Hero's journey question was so essential, by the way. Yeah, I agree. That was actually a really fantastic question. I'd love to see Riri become a villain in the years to come. No, it'd be tragic falling from Iron Man grace. Actually, okay, I'm gonna redemption and okay, good. You put in the redemption because yeah, if she were to fall, I demand to see a redemption, and Tony Stark of all people should have to do the redemption. I would actually love to see that where Tony Stark, because you know what? I loved it when Tony Stark was one. I loved it when he embraced his evil in the infamous Iron Man. That was my favorite Iron Man. It's like, oh my God, finally he embraced his evil. You know what I'm saying? But then when you turn around and you got like if he were to turn or what do you call it, in the towards the end of Secret Empire when his AI was like, listen, Hydra Cap, you were right. Okay, I was wrong in so many ways, and I wish I could have told you, and I never did, and I'm sorry. And it may just be the drunk in me that's speaking, but yeah, this is how I feel, and I'm sorry. And it gave Cap pause, even though he was evil. It gave me pause. I'm like, damn, Tony, could you stick around a little bit longer? Because yes, finally, this is good for you. This is healing. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even need an intervention. Well, actually, there was an intervention. There's about to be a shield in his skull, his digital skull. So I thought that was great. I loved that. So yeah, I would like to see something like that also. This podcast is going over an hour and 30 minutes. Sorry, Sean. Actually, no, an hour and 22 minutes and 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds. Thanks for the effort there, Professor. I study educational psych. Oh, yeah, you and me are going to be best friends. And counseling, so I'm interested in the concept of learning of how people grow and change. Yes, redemption arcs are a great way to develop a character. Boom, okay. So, I'm going to get to the segment, but first I just want to comment really quickly on this, what is it, this HBO situation. Apparently, Game of Thrones once again is the most pirated thing ever. Okay, in the year 2017, the most pirated thing on those pirate stations and all that stuff. I remember Napster when I was younger. I remember Napster. It got replaced with something. I don't remember what it was. Demonoid, I think it was. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyway, what do you call it? These sites, okay, these people going on and downloading things is illegal in most countries. In some countries, it's not. In which case, you could say that it's immoral, but immorality depends on who you are. It really does depend on who you are. You know what I'm saying? I remember somebody actually said, I had an ethics class one time where it was asked if and this was during the Persian Gulf situation. They said, if you were to, I actually just come home from deployment. You know what I'm saying? If you were, deployment's not the right word for it. Anyway, whatever. If you were, okay, here, just the topic itself. If you were to find out that, what's his face, Saddam Hussein was holed up in a building, and you had one chance to push a button, launch a nuke that would perfectly hit that building, and nobody outside that building would be killed, just that building would be destroyed with him in it, would you do it? And here's the trick. It's an orphanage, and there are 10 infants in there. Wow. That was messed up. That's really messed up. 10 infants. Every single person in the room said no. I wouldn't push it. Some people were actually like, I'm indecisive. There was one person, however, who said, okay, but yes, I would do it because those kids are probably just going to grow up to be like him anyway. And welcome to racism 101. You know what I'm saying? So the teacher, I was young. I was 19. You know what I'm saying? I was 19. And I was almost 20. I was 19, almost 20. And this guy said that, and I was just mad. I just gave him like the dirtiest look, and he tried to give me like some kind of look backwards, and I just like 10,000 yards stared him down. He just like turned away. He like there was a cop in the room. His daytime position is a cop. This was night school, so he turns around and looks at the cop, and the guy just looks back at him like that, like you said something stupid. What do you want? Anyway, so so the guy, the teacher, I wasn't even smart enough to think of this. The teacher says, okay, but you're assuming that it's an Iraqi orphanage. What if it's a French orphanage? What if it's a British orphanage? What if it's an American orphanage? I didn't say where the orphanage was. I didn't say the nationality of those kids. Then suddenly the guy starts thinking about it. This is conservative 101. F them, protect us. Protect my tribe. I grew up with this. You know what I'm saying? So that's yeah. Yeah. So ethics is always fun for me. I love ethics. It's a lot to really think about. Sam Harris. Why don't we eat babies? Like what? I heard him say so in defense of his some of his philosophical conversations. The guy really needs to take a grasp and understand that when you say something like that to the public, the general public is not going to understand it. So if he's going to say, well, when I'm in a private circle with other philosophers, we can say crazy things like that, and nobody will bat an eye. It'll literally just be a question that we discuss. Okay, but if you're not smart enough to realize you're not in one of those private circles and you're in the presence of laymen, you don't get to you don't get to tout a higher IQ. You were a jackass for saying that in the presence of common people, of lay people. Sorry, just, So we got HBO right now saying it's a huge ethical issue for them to be, for all these pirates to be stealing our show, and we're declaring war on these pirates. Yeah, let me tell you a little something about HBO. HBO is not without sin, so I can assure you they are casting stones. A little biblical reference there. HBO is owned by Time Warner. Time Warner is at the forefront with Comcast for the destruction of net neutrality. Ooh, yeah. And it's not because of the pirating thing. It's because they want to make more money. That's all. Time Warner is so transparent about this, and not even intentionally. Just because they think that we're dumb or they just don't care what we think. Because if the law's on their side, who cares what we think, right? So this is literally like a throwing stones while living in a glass house kind of thing. People who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Yeah, they're glass cannons. All right, so there's a big gigantic cannon, but it only takes a stone to shatter everything about what they're saying. I do not agree with the idea of downloading movies. However, when I was living and working in Saudi Arabia in the Middle East, I had to. I remember the Putlocker, I think it was called. I forget what it was called. I think that was it though. I used to stream Breaking Bad and things like that because they didn't sell the seasons. They didn't sell anything. So there's no way to watch HBO or excuse me, AMC. I think that was on. There's no way to watch any of those shows then, and I wanted to watch the shows, so I downloaded them. I don't know what to tell you, brother. I don't know what to tell you. Listen. It's one thing. Here's my problem with giant-sized corporations. With giant-sized corporations, when you've got huge corporations and they've got a lot of power, you ever hear the terminology? You ever hear the idiom? If you want to know the measure of a person, give them some semblance of power. That will tell you who these people really are. So, like case in point, the people who work, security at like Walmart or Costco. You know what I'm saying? You've got no power. You can't arrest anybody. You can't tell you even the people who sit there. You're like, oh, I want to mark your receipt. You know what I'm saying? If the line is too long, I go around and I just walk by like, sir. I was like, don't hurt yourself. You don't need to mark my stuff. Sir, I need to. Well, clearly you don't. Because I'm walking, security isn't coming after me, nothing. So when you, like, they're calling attention, if they were smart, they would ignore it. They would ignore it, but they're calling attention to it, making more people start to think. I would imagine maybe there's somebody of some semblance of intelligence there who will say, hey, you know what? I don't really have to stop. You look at the laws in Canada, in America. They don't have to look inside my. When I go walking out, somebody's like, "Can I see your receipt?" No. Sometimes I'll do that just simply for the sake of, because I kind of have an anarchist mentality sometimes. You know what I'm saying? No, you can't. Sir, I'm going to need to see your receipt. If you put your hands on me, you and I are going to have a really big problem, and it's going to end with you in prison. So I don't care which one of us ends up on the floor. By the way, it's probably going to be you. But you are going to end up in prison for assaulting me, for trying to take the law into your own hands. You have no right to take my receipt or look in my bag or anything like that. Good day to you, sir. And I walk out. And now they wound up having a pissy day. Why? Because they thought that raising their voice, the typical thing that cops like to do, they literally have one technique. Raise your voice and show some power. I like it when cops are cool. Because, like cops, and no disrespect towards cops with anybody in the chat or listening or whatever. Cops, like to do this thing. And this is just a problem that I personally have with cops every so often. Cop finds out that I was in the military. Suddenly it's like a measuring contest. You know what I'm talking about, measuring, right? Somehow it's a measuring contest, okay? Military goes overseas. We have much bigger weapons. You guys like to borrow our weapons. Cops like to borrow our weapons. We go overseas. We get expert training in how not to cause problems, because let's be realistic. If something gets out of control, we can't exactly call the police. See what I did there? So we actually have to be intelligent. So turning around and coming back here to Canada, where I've never really had a problem with a cop, not really. Or to the States where, yeah, I've had problems with cops. When you're 6'5", and you walk with a military gait, yeah, sometimes cops want to, come up and question you and ask you things, especially when you look like a freaking hippie. When they say hipster, it's like, okay, dude, obviously. I related to that Punisher movie, TV series. Anyway, so when when a cop wants to try and oh yeah, you're in the military, huh? Yeah, okay, cool, and they try and act like it's nothing, but then they'll try and raise their voice to you for something. I just kind of laugh, like, why are you yelling? I'm right here. Like, I'm gonna laugh at you, dude. When an officer of the law, because like here's something really cool about people in the military. Here's something that every single cop should get a lesson on. Every single cop. People in the military, more than anybody else in the world, forget the country, forget about where you live, in the world, we respect rank and uniform. I don't care that you've got a gun. You know what I'm saying? I don't care you got a gun. In the military, I learned how to disarm people with guns. So there's that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not interested in you having a gun. I'm not interested in you having a baton. I'm not interested in your taser, your mace, your handcuffs. I'm not interested in whatever you keep in your back pocket. I don't care. None of that impresses me. But you've got a uniform and you've got a rank, usually your badge, and also your rank on the sleeves and things like that. And the military, we are trained to respect that. It's drilled into us, and it's hard to get that out of us. And we enjoy the idea of, you were obviously placed in a position of power by someone who is supposed to, we assume, is intelligent. And now you're going to abuse that power. Suddenly, that respect that I initially had for you, where I was calling you sir, and now I'm just laughing at you, you lost that respect. The term respect is earned, not given. We give respect, but you can lose it, and then you're not getting it back again. You're not getting it back again. So, there's that. Really diverging off the subject, because this whole thing really bugs me. Like trying to kill us with the net neutrality and all that stuff. Verizon, Comcast, and Time Warner trying to take away our net neutrality. They are a huge corporation. They can do whatever they want to us. Listen, there are people in positions of great power. All right. And as a comic book fan, Spider-Man fan, great power comes great responsibility. Unfortunately, with great power does not necessarily come the idea of thinking how to actually use your power. Yes, that's the responsibility part, but you got to have a brain to use that power in a good way. So there are all sorts of different ways around this. See, when you come into a problem and you're a little guy, you have to find a way to overcome. Otherwise, you fail miserably, right? Now, these guys are not losing They are losing money. I'm not going to say they're not losing enough money that suddenly Game of Thrones isn't profitable anymore. All right, they're always going to run, or if they're going to run a spin-off, anything, they will continue making Game of Thrones or whatever else they're going to make because it's popular and because they make tons of money. What they're looking at is the money that they've lost that they could have had if there weren't pirates. So instead of thinking, what's a way that we could actually make these pirate stations unnecessary? What's a way that we could do that? Instead, they're thinking, we have to crush the pirates. We have to crush them. They go all Arnold Schwarzenegger on us. That's kind of idiotic. Look, I'm going to tell you right now what I think is a really great idea. HBO streaming. Yes, I understand. I don't actually know how HBO streaming works because unfortunately I don't get it here where I'm at in Canada. Okay, I literally have to wait until much later when CBC or something like that is going to air it. It's usually like a week later. Yeah, I know. 4 days, 4 days, 4 days, sometimes a week later. That's what I've got to wait for. And usually I don't even bother anyway because I don't like to watch episode by episode by episode. I like to just binge it. You know what I'm saying? So I'll usually wait until the freaking DVD comes out anyways. I've got a really nice Blu-ray collection. I'm just saying. That being said, what do you call it? A good idea would be like a streaming service where there's the free version and the paid version. The free version, you got to have a commercial that gets pumped into you 4 times per episode. In the beginning, 3 during, and maybe something at the end if you want to stick around and maybe watch, hey, coming up next week, you know what I'm saying, after this commercial. All that good stuff. All that good stuff. Why not? Stick them with commercials. Get some advertisement in. Give them a reason to say, I'm so sick of these commercials. I'm just going to buy the service. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to waiting, because I don't know how long it takes for these pirated stations, because they've got to watch the show first. They've got to get it. They've got to put it into whatever format they're going to do, and then they got to upload it. I know how long that stuff takes because I've got a YouTube channel where it takes forever to render and edit and put stuff up. Edit, then render, and then put stuff up. It takes forever. So I'm sure these pirate systems aren't that good, but you can actually watch this stuff live if you do it with commercials, or if you do the paid service. And maybe consider making the paid service cheaper. I don't actually know, I could look it up, but I didn't even care. Perhaps it's too expensive. I mean, how expensive does it really need to be, after all? Couldn't you, with something like HBO, with something like Game of Thrones and some of the program that they've got, couldn't they do quantity over quality? You know what I'm saying? And it's not even a quality issue. The quality is going to be the same, but simply bring down the price. You've got more than enough demand. Increase the demand by lowering the price. What's the problem? We live in a world where millennials exist, where something like Patreon can exist. Could Patreon have existed in the 80s? I want you to really stop and think about this. Under Reaganomics, the origin of the trickle-down theory, you know what I'm saying, which is baloney. Could something like Patreon have really worked? Where people are like, yeah, I'm going to pay to watch something that you're giving me for free. That would never work. The proof is you look at old people. On average, it took me forever to understand how something like Patreon would actually work. Why would I ever get... And I don't have a Patreon, but if someone goes and gets a Patreon, hey man, check it out. I've got a Patreon, and you can donate $1 a month. I'm a patron for Nerderkey. You know what I'm saying, on YouTube. I'm a patron for them. You know what I'm saying? It's automatically taken on my account. Why? Because I watch this stuff anyways, and they say they've got great content. I love watching their stuff. Boom. Why wouldn't I donate something to them monthly so that they can continue doing what they're doing, as opposed to just failing, going out of business? We've got Kickstarters, we've got GoFundMes, we've got all these different things that simply did not exist back in the 80s. So 80s and 70s children, I'm a half 70, half 80s child, you know what I'm saying? It's very hard for us to understand how stuff like that can actually work, you know what I'm saying? But and especially if you got this resentment thing of, my music is better, my time was better, your people suck. Look, I don't ever want to be one of these people who's talking about the greatest generation ever. Shut up. Shut up with that. You know what I'm saying? There is no such thing as a greatest generation, all right? They're all just a bunch of different generations. And realistically, that greatest generation, they've had more handouts than any other generation has ever had. So don't cry to me about millennials won everything. Probably because you got everything. There's that. There's Roosevelt's New Deal. You ever heard of that? Actually do a little bit of research in American history. Nonetheless, I don't want to get patronizing talking about Patreon or anything like that. And no, I'm not starting a Patreon. What I'm saying is, in a world where people are willing to pay for content that you're giving away for free, would it really be such a far out stretch to maybe lower the price of HBO streaming services? But the problem is old white men. It all comes around again. It all comes around again. Like, this is the problem that we face in America. Everything's done by old, the white thing, that's something. Men, that's something. But like the old part, that's the kicker. That's the real crotch kicker right there. They're all old. They're not with the times. They don't get it. Millennials are willing to pay you for something that you give them for free anyway. They're willing to do that. But they're not willing to deal with all the hassle and the exorbitant prices. People are already dealing with weighed down college loans and the idea that they're never going to own a freaking house because that's simply not the way the market works anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, just we need smarter people in these kinds of huge organizations. All right, so something like HBO. They're doomed to fail. They're doomed to fail because they simply can't think. They're going to try and use, let's be realistic, they're going to try and use civil suits, okay, federal and civil suits, which means that they're going to be spending taxpayer money to try and get the government to crack down on these pirate programs. When the best way to handle these pirate programs, very simply, make them obsolete. Oh, you're giving away free things that it takes like, a couple of hours for you to give away our free things? We're going to give our free stuff immediately, and we're just going to have a couple of commercials in there. You know what I'm saying? So we're still gaining, but you are now obsolete. You don't exist anymore. There's no reason for you to exist anymore. Put them out of business. Make it like an Uber or a Lyft situation. Put these people out of business. You know what I'm saying? That's the way I look at it. These pirate systems don't have to exist, except that there are people out there who are just trying so hard to, these prices, they don't have to be to this degree. Do you know that it only costs $1? Or excuse me, it costs less than $1. Think about how much it costs to make a CD, all right, and studio time and all this other stuff and whatnot. Do you know that if a music band, actually makes $1 off of a CD, they actually made out pretty well? Because most of them, if their name isn't Taylor Swift, they're not even making $1 off of each CD sold. Most of that is going towards high-paying execs, not the guys working in the rooms and doing all the work. No, these high-paying execs who like, oh yeah, I'm going to buy this building and I'm going to pay you minimal, labor to build a soundproofing system. I'll pay you minimal labor to build the system. I'm going to try and get the best possible deal from products in China to get in here and do these things. Like, that's the way the world works. So most of that money is going towards these big execs so they can get bigger yachts and with their bigger cigars. They're not actually contributing anything. That's one of the big things that whenever people say, oh, what do you produce for society? What do these fat cats produce for society? Because they really don't produce anything. Stocks, what's the purpose of trading on the stock exchange? They're trading intangible objects that don't actually do anything. These stocks are borrowed and traded and sold all the time that they don't actually do anything. So what exactly do they contribute? They don't contribute anything to you or I. It's a farce, and people are making money off of it, and it's pointless. Yeah. Okay. Went on a little bit too much of a rant for that. But wasting money to try and get rid of pirates when they could simply make them obsolete. Why wouldn't they do that and just advertise that? Hey, you want to watch Game of Thrones for free? You don't need a pirate site. HBO.com. Come and see what else we got too. Consider subscribing. Get rid of all those pesky commercials. Just saying. and you can watch it live too if you pay for it, as opposed to an hour later, or even let's just say half hour later or something like that. Okay, I got a segment to get to. Install the software. Hey, should I install this software update on my iPhone 6 that will drastically slow down my internet? Yeah, I'm just going to say later. I'm going to ignore that. iPhone will update if connected to power between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. Well, I guess I will not be connecting this to power. Disagree. Yeah, I will not be getting that update because I like the idea of my iPhone actually functioning at a decent speed. See, and that's what I'm talking about. Slowing that stuff down. And I know the excuse that they gave as I'm trying to find this segment for upcoming comics. I know the excuse that they gave. Oh, well, the batteries are. Shut up. Because now you're going to turn around and say, oh, yeah, next month in January, the end of January, we're going to give you $50 off a battery so you can get it for only $30. You can make it cheaper since you're forcing this stuff to happen in the first place. You know that. And let's be realistic. If you're buying the battery, we have to buy the battery from you. So once we do buy the battery, you're going to have it on file that we bought the battery for our phone. And then what happens? Suddenly you push a couple of buttons and then our internet speed increases. And then oh, see? It was because you bought the battery. No. No, it wasn't. And you know it. So, yeah. It's not that I hate big businesses. I hate big business mentality. Okay, so what is this? I'm looking at Spider-Man. This is actually a pretty cool drawing. Amazing Spider-Man upcoming. So, ba-ding! Oh, got to actually see me on here. There we go, live. Okay, so there's a Spider-Man drawing. That's pretty cool. I don't know who that's by or anything like that. But it's up. It's Amazing Spider-Man, so I guess that's Imogen. Oh, look at the Flash. You should start reviewing Justice League. Christopher Priest. Whoa, Christopher Priest is doing Justice League? See, Sean, that's how you sell me on things, is doing great things in the book. Okay. You know, I actually did review it when they were doing stuff for the Dark Knight's Metal and when they had that one crossover with Mira in it. Now apparently she's actually a full member, so I might actually... Oh, sorry. So I might actually consider checking it out. Look at the Flash, man. It looks awesome. Just floating in space. Better speed force yourself out of there. What do we got? Black Knight. Talking about Black Knight and No Surrender, maybe? Ooh, I'm down for seeing the Black Knight in No Surrender. That would be cool. I'm down for seeing Black Knight. I like those little characters, you know? His best moment was in the Assault on Olympus, back in the Avengers. That will be an awesome spotlight on story. Preview for Runaways 8 cover, Julie Powers from Power Pack and Carolina. Hope there's some hot action. You want some HLA? You guys look up HLA WWF from the Attitude Era. Yeah. So, Kick-Ass comic book. Mark Millar is back with John Romita Jr. See, and now I'm lost. John Romita Jr. New Kick-Ass starting next year. I don't care because John Romita Jr. is on it. He's a big name, mostly because of his father and because of the early work that he did. But I'll show it to you guys. But John Romita Jr. is admittedly one of the laziest writers that there are, artists that there are. He just doesn't care. He's like, yeah, I'm just in it to do as much as I can and make some money off of it. You don't like my art? Don't read it. Psh, I'm still going to get paid. Not with that kind of attitude. No, you won't. Not for much longer. But at least that's what I would assume. Anyway, Terrifics number 2 cover. Oh, sweet. I don't know if you guys can see that. Yeah, you guys should be able to see that. Plastic Man. The most powerful character in the DC universe. Plastic Man. I'm not joking. I'm only half joking. Flash March cover. Oh, guys. Sorry, am I seeing some Gorilla Grodd there? I'm cool with that. What else we got? Oh, Daredevil, Charles Soule. Best Matt Murdock. I don't know if it's the best Daredevil ever, but the best Matt Murdock ever. Daredevil number 600 variant. That's cool. I'm digging it. I like when you got heroes kind of falling apart. His deal with Mayor Fisk coming up soon. Nightwing cover for March. I actually stopped reading. I didn't read the latest issue of Nightwing, the new arc. I just can't stand the other characters that are in that. The side characters in the Nightwing comic. Amazing Spider-Man number 42 annual. Okay, that's cool. So, yeah, not a whole lot of news in comic books, right? That's it. That's like literally the last post he's got. That's a shame. That's a shame. But, it is what it is. Oh, geez. Somebody's actually sending me some really good stuff. I'll look at that a little bit later. Mostly Face Rip Game stuff. Anyway, so this was, again, my longest podcast ever. Yeah, the professor is so much listened to, even better in person. All right, Victor. Shoot, what else? Giant Size Corporations number 1. Comic Watcher, you are freaking awesome, dude. Love ethics, too. We can talk a lot, Professor. Love your videos. Always identify with your approach and respect your opinions. One of my favorite channels, figures. Thank you. Well, I'm looking to be number 1 in your mind. Comic Book University, where the tuition is always free. Obviously, comments are wanting for the night. No, I gotta go. I gotta say that I love this weekly series. Thanks for what you do. Please keep it up. Great series. It's all good, brother. Consistently wanting to shout. We were just so transfixed by the rant that we aren't commenting. Sean just did the segment. Hurrah! I agree. Every couple sentences of your comic, I accidentally pressed enter on the last post. um, all right, Victor. And what do we got? Good night. Yeah. Okay. So that's it. Almost 2 hours. Hour and 50 minutes. Anyway, guys, enjoy. This was good. I had such a migraine when I started this. That's a big problem. I had such a freaking migraine. I thought I was just gonna once again like half an hour, then I'm done. Nope. And I blame Comic Boom. Go and check him out on YouTube. He's really good. All right, guys, that's it for me. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed. And thanks for showing up, guys.